Good evening, everybody. It's Mario with Motorcycle Knuckle Busters, and we're back at it again, another show. Talk about shirts real quick. If you guys want to pick up some Knuckle Buster shirts, you can go to our website, check that out. Place an order and stuff. Show everybody your support for the show. That you're a Knuckle Buster. And we want to see that gear out there. Anyhow, our next guest is somebody maybe some of you haven't heard about. I know there's definitely people that have heard about it, but those of you that know me know that I love music probably as much as motorcycles. I'm not a performer. I'm not skilled. I just enjoy music. Be it going Summerfest, being out at Sturgis at the rally there, different places like that. I'm always trying to catch live acts and stuff. One thing, Summerfest in Milwaukee, I go up there and yeah, I go see the headliners and everything else. But when you're talking 800-900 bands that are playing, I love to find the up and coming hidden talent and everything else. And in the spirit of that, okay, our producer Cody found us a really great act. This guy that's really putting out some great music and everything. So we want to introduce him to everybody. Hope that you're going to check out his music. Hear a little bit about his story, who he is, what he does, and everything else. So without further ado, I want to introduce Ross Flora.
Hey, Mario.
Hey, thank you for coming on. So I've checked out some music. I've got to listen to it, and it's really awesome. But before we get into that, I kind of want to talk about you, where you came from, how this journey started for you. And if I understand, you grew up in the Blue Ridge Mountains, near the Blue Ridge Mountains outside Roanoke, correct?
Yeah, just right outside in Franklin County, Virginia. So
okay. And that's a beautiful area. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. So you've got some experience out there?
Oh yeah. But, not too far is the Carolina Creeper Trail and stuff what's the Creeper Trail? I've been on that. I've done some stuff there. Done the Blue Ridge and everything. Just did some hiking out there, various stuff, but riding. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous out there.
Yeah, I was blessed to be able to grow up in that area. That's for sure.
Okay. So now, so you were raised there and everything else. You've been in the music for some time. So tell me about that. When did you discover this was going to be your path?
So like I say, music was a part of my everyday life growing up. My parents were musicians. My dad was a professional musician for a long time, and they could both sing. And, me and my little sister, we had like a little family band. We were growing up and stuff, we just play in church and whatnot and do some little festivals for the community and stuff. But I started playing piano at 7, picked up a guitar at 11 years old and really started like learning guitar at 11 and then just kind of took off with it. And my dad kind of sat me down when I was a teenager, around 15, 16, something like that. He was like, man, he was like, I think you could, if you really love this, he was like, you might have a, chance to be a professional at it, to like, if you play your cards right and, if you want to, commitment, and he was kind of saying, he's like, I can help you along. And, so that was kind of whenever it started. That's whenever I started looking at it as like a lifelong thing I wanted to do, was around 14, 15. And that was kind of, again, that was really nice to have that direction at such a young age and to be able to put like, okay, like I'm throwing some eggs in this basket that, so this is my plan for my future right here. So
you talk to a lot of musicians or artists or people, that don't get the traditional jobs, and you hear a lot of times, they've actually hit a lot of resistance. It's like, you need to go to college, or you got to go to trade school. You can't do that. People don't make a living. So to be able to have that encouragement, that's remarkable that your dad stepped up like that for you.
Yeah.
Now what kind of music did your dad play? What was he into? What was the sounds you were hearing come from him?
He was a 70s rocker, late 60s, 70s all the way through 80. Like 6 was when he quit playing, like touring a lot.
Okay.
But he did it all from early CCR, stuff to, Allman Brothers is our all-time favorite, both me and my dad. So
yeah, Allman Brothers are phenomenal.
And Warren Haynes and
Yeah.
Even dirt trucks, the new age guys, I love them all. So so that's kind of where everything split. But my dad played in a bunch of R&B groups. He played, the pop scene in those days was the Michael Jackson kind of stuff. So he played keyboards, big old horn bands that pulled off all the Michael Jackson and all the Prince stuff, and AC/DC bands and Zeppelin bands, So he was all over the page with it. But
now, I think I saw somewhere that your dad came home one day and you were playing guitar and you were playing to some Van Halen.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was you playing?
My mom picked us up from school and we stopped by Walmart or something. And I got one of those essential hits of Van Halen CDs that you get at Walmart, and brought it home. And I didn't know how I was doing it, but I started just tapping kind of inherently. I was like, well, that must be what he's doing, because I'd fooled around and thought it was just, I didn't know that was actually like a technique until I heard Eruption. And I was like, wait. So I started like, I had the first two chords down, the first two like positions down by the time he got home. And then he got home, he was like, all right. And he's like, yeah, we're taking you to to a shop here, and we're going to get, his good buddy was going to take over, kind of doing some lessons with me and stuff that was a little bit more directed in that, vein. But yeah, so that was kind of where, yeah, it's just, I remember that day clear as day too. It was, he kind of came in, he just broke into the bedroom. He was like, are you playing Van Halen? I was like, yeah, man, I just found this stuff out. You've been hiding this from me? And he was like, no, man. He's like, it's time. You're on the next step now. He's like, I can't tap. So we're taking you to somebody who can,
So tell me some of the other, is there any other guitarists or different people, because there's so many different people with different styles and stuff like that. Is there somebody that might surprise us that you also said, wow, that guy's got a style that like Mark Knopfler. I think Knopfler is phenomenal. So is there any others like that really just kind of speak to your heart?
In the bluegrass world, Tony Rice. He's like the godfather of guitarists, and he like went into jazz kind of stuff. He just wasn't straight ahead bluegrass, and so like Tony Rice unit, that was a huge kind of influence. Even though I don't have any, I don't play any bluegrass gigs, but
Right.
there'll be some times where I'm like, oh, I think that was a Tony Rice lick I did or something. But that, Slash was a huge influence, and I'd have to say Derek Trucks is probably my favorite guitar player.
That's awesome.
It's the Butch Trucks' nephew from the Allman Brothers.
So now being in being there in the Roanoke area, I would imagine bluegrass obviously was very, very strong. What other genres of music were very essential in that area?
Obviously a lot of rock, but surprisingly there was a ton of R&B. It was kind of like smooth jazz. There's a guy, I think there was like rumors, but this guy Victor Wooten, who's like one of the top bass players in the world, he had a bunch of family that lived there. So we had a bunch of just crazy like virtuoso bass players that really around town that were kind of his like followers, that had like a direct access to him and were killing it. So that kind of dictated the music, and a lot of times that would lean into R&B and stuff. So
okay. So then you finally you decided it was time to go to Nashville. So tell me about that decision.
Well, again, that was when Dad sat me down that day when I was 15 or 16, and he was just like, he's like, to do this, you need to maximize your chances, you need to get to a major music hub city. So he was like, you listed off, he's like New York, LA, Nashville. He's like, I think you do well in Nashville with the way things are going. If you're going to be a guitar player, you probably need to be there. And so that was, from that day on, he was like, I was like, all right, like get through high school, get through college, and you got my blessing to head out there and just hit it as hard as you can. So.
Okay. So we're going to step away from the music for a second. So let's talk about bikes, because, this is what we like to talk about. We like to talk about bikes. So you've been riding for a long time, correct?
Yeah. I grew up on dirt bikes. My first little dirt bike was an old like 83 CR80 two-stroke. It was temperamental as hell, you know, but it was, I love that thing and upgraded. And by the time I got my learner's permit, I had an 82 Electric Glide. So at 15
Okay.
in Virginia. So that's whenever Dad and I would go ride all the time. And so that's where I got started, was the day I was able to ride a road bike, I'd be on it.
Well, the other kids must thought you were pretty cool. I mean, you're riding motorcycles, playing music, and everything else, and they're just trying to figure out life. And you've got the cool stuff. You're getting it all down right away.
Man, that's all Dad. He knew all the shortcuts to the cool stuff. So it's, he was like, you want to ride a motorcycle? We'll get you a motorcycle.
So your dad likes to ride as well?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. He's been a Harley guy all his life, and yeah, he's had a bike every point throughout his life as well. So
good for him. So what's he riding these days?
He's got a 93 Electric Glide, or an Ultra, I guess. It's fully dressed out, every piece of chrome you can get on it. But it's just that old classic look, from the mid 90s.
Yeah.
He's got one of those. And right now so we technically switched. The Heritage Softail I have out here with the Evo engine in it is a lot more reliable than that 82 Electric Glide is. So yeah, also there's a lot more interstate riding out here than there is back there with an old 4-speed. In that 82 was kind of, I needed at least a 5-speed out here in the interstates and stuff. So we switched.
Sure.
He's back in Roanoke, the Electric Glide, and then that one. And then when I go, we've got 2 bikes back there, and then we got 2 bikes out here for when we want to go riding.
So you ever you use the road to either find inspiration or to clear your head?
Oh, both for sure. I mean, they work one and the same. It's
okay.
Yeah, it's the focus. I mean, it's the same as it's like being on stage. It's the same thing. You gotta have all your wits about you, but there's like a fluidity to it. That's why I like riding so much. Is once you get in the zone, it's just everything. You got all of your focus on that, but it's smooth.
Sure.
But it's the same way with being on stage to me. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So now you've played. I've read 3,500 shows. Is that correct?
Yeah, just since in the last 10 years, at least 3,500. Yeah.
So 35. I mean, that's an incredible pace. But I mean, I know a lot of folks do it. So, is there any places you've played that you really enjoy playing?
In town, my home spot was this place called Benchmark. It's where I got my first gig here in Nashville Avenue, right downtown, right off Broadway. And your listeners might know that place because it was the coolest bar down there. And then for whatever reason, during those shutdown and everything, it didn't come out on the other side. But I missed that place. But that place was definitely special. Right now, I've got a awesome club I love playing at. That's my home base right now, that's become that is Cerveza Jack's. It's up on 2nd Avenue as well.
Okay.
And then as far as like out of town, I've got I don't really go on the road too often, because I can stack up gigs here in town. Do 3 or 4 a day. And,
all right.
But whenever I do go on the road, it's got to be somewhere cool and special. So like it's either like the Salty Goat down in Panama City Beach, which is kind of like a work vacation for us, or I like to go to Rocky and Tara's Nut House in Kaukauna, Wisconsin.
Oh, really?
But yeah, a little Kaukauna. So it's just southwest of Appleton. So
yeah, I know the area. So we're not that far away. You'll have to let us know when you're up there so we can come up and check everything out. So now playing 3,500 shows. I mean, there's got to be a lot of interesting memories, and things that have happened. Any weird, anything awkward ever happen, or difficulties in doing those shows?
I mean, I feel like I have. I mean, you see a lot down there, just with different types of people, different crazy stuff. For the most part, Nashville doesn't get too crazy, I initially thought there'd be somewhere with at least some chicken wire on the stage and beer bottles being thrown around and stuff, some rowdy spot. Yeah, I mean, it's most people come down here, they behave, and but I mean, they get wild, but it's not even as wild as some of these places I've seen on the road. So I mean, yeah, every gig there's something that's like, whoa, can you believe that happened? In all almost 4,000 of them, there's always been something. And so yeah, I mean,
So how do you get yourself up for every gig? Because there's got to be some days you just don't feel it, but you're obligated. You have to go on. You book this. This is
yeah,
it's
oh
your
yeah,
job. You don't do
yeah.
your job, you're going to have a problem with the place that booked you. Everything else. I mean, how do you keep yourself going? Keep yourself motivated?
Um, about the only it's my dad always said, like, you don't get paid. You're not getting paid to to play the show. You're getting paid to load in and like get to the gig and then get back from the gig and all that hassle. Because once you get on stage, it's like, even some of the worst gigs when you're just dog tired and you can barely drive to the gig. You're so just worn out. And then, but like I say, once you hook up and those first two songs get out there, it's like, it just relights a fire. So I feel that way, a good bit sometimes now after 10 years, where I'm just like, man, this is all right. Got another gig down here today. Not feeling it, but got to get down there and deal with all this crazy traffic to get downtown and get parked and all that. And I mean, but then, you
Sure.
get, it's like, oh, okay. I remember now.
So now do you get a chance to go do any like festivals or anything like that?
I other than one festival back home in Roanoke called Festival in the Park that my good friend runs, I haven't gotten much into the festival scene. I've been a hired gun guitar player for bands that have done a bunch of festivals and stuff, but never as Ross Flora have I really done much with
Okay.
that. But hopefully, I mean, I'm definitely looking to get on the circuit with this EP release. So that's kind of the
Okay.
plan. Is if
Yeah.
not this fall, then probably next year, next spring. But
Well, at least, things have geared back up and
mhm.
you can get out there and play that music and everything else. So what'd you do during COVID? I mean, that had to really put a cramp on things.
No, we would. I was playing with a good friend of mine, Dominique Hutchinson. She's an awesome artist from Toledo, Ohio, and
Okay.
we probably logged 1,000 gigs together. We played for several years together, and we both have like a dog in us. I feel like that's where we just hustle and take as many gigs as we could. We do triples, 3-4 times a week. So anyway, we got done. We played the last show in town together. Like, we were the last show at Losers that hadn't shut down. And then we were like, man, what are we going to do? Okay, we can do this live stream thing, Facebook Live, and still reach an audience. And
Yeah.
we did a month or two of that. And I played with some other artists, some good friends, Cash Crawford and Emily Allen. So, we were all just trying to maximize, trying to do like a show a day or, at least a couple shows a week just to stay in touch with our fans and try
That's
to make a
cool.
little money on the Venmo and Cash App and PayPal type things. And then, yeah, we started, especially like Dominique and I, we were kind of, we just missed being in front of people. That was so much of our thing. And we had been down to Panama City Beach a ton. That was kind of our, like I say, our work vacations. So we were just like, man, well, Florida's wide open. I mean, they barely had any, they didn't have any occupancy rules or anything. They stayed wide open. So we were like, let's just go down to Florida. We're young and healthy. I mean, I wouldn't have told my mom to do this, to come down there with us. But, I was like, we got to sink or swim here. So we got to swim. So we went down.
Absolutely.
We went down there. We went down there with 2 gigs at that place called the Salty Goat I was telling you about. And
Yeah.
right there on the main drag. And I didn't even know there were so many clubs. And we were staying with a friend, couch surfing. And then we ended up leaving the first time, that first trip, we left 30 days later, having played 28 shows. After having walked in there just for like, all right, well, we're here for 2 days and we got 2 shows. Let's see if we can make something happen.
Yes.
We hit the ground running, and we didn't have much of a following down there, or we didn't know many of the musicians. We only knew 1 or 2 that we had met from just coming down there from once every 6 months or so. And then we just sat in with them. you know, I think manager was there, you know, and then we were like, hey, we're looking for gigs. You need a band on Monday. And they were like, let's try it out. Got a gig on Monday, went to the next club. You need a band on Tuesday. We got, okay, well, here we go. And, you know, and just built up like that. It was kind of the old school way of doing it. It was very refreshing. Because all the time I've been playing, you have to have a website, and, you know, and it's like, well, it's okay. Our manager will go check out your website, and then we'll go see, you know, see this and that, and they him and haw. But this was like, oh, they were like, oh, y'all sound good. They were like, thank you for sitting in. Let's get you here next week sometime. So that's
Nice.
kind of how they did it, you know. I feel like that's how like Leonard Skinner did it, coming down the, you know.
Yeah,
Just,
it's definitely old school, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So you hear about the auditions and stuff like the Fillmores and stuff like that back in the day, and those guys would just roll in and they'd say, you know, you got 5 minutes to impress me,
yeah,
and if
yeah.
you impressed them, you got booked. You know, so that was you know, that's pretty cool stuff. So is there any places? I mean, obviously, you know, your hopes is to, you know, to hit, you know, do some major things in this industry, be discovered, have people enjoy your music. Is there any place out there that you're really hoping to play one day?
Oh, I mean, all the legendary arenas and stuff. I mean, like the, you know, like the Fillmore and the Beacon and all of that. But obviously, like Red Rocks, that's on
Yeah,
everybody's. That's just a magical spot out there. There's trying to think. There's a couple of random clubs I'd like to, like the 40 Watt Club in Athens, Georgia. If that's still
yeah.
even that's still a thing, but that's, you know, and so and I don't know, I just love to play around Macon, Georgia, where Allen Brothers are from, and, you know, and
There used to be a club there called the Zoo,
yeah,
and yeah, I saw REM there before they hit it big
okay,
because they
yeah,
were a college band, and it was so funny. We were actually there, and they were passing a coffee can around because they were trying to raise enough money because the B-52s invited them to come play a New Year's show with them in New York.
dang, well, that was
So
just before they took off. Then, yeah,
now another cool place, you ever get a chance, the Stone Pony in Asbury Park.
okay, yeah, I've heard of that. Sure.
That's
Yeah,
a cool place. That's a
oh,
really, really cool place. So
yeah.
I've seen like the Ramones there and 38 Special, just a little club, but it's, you know, that's when it's the best.
Mhm.
I like the small clubs. I like the old classic, you know, theaters that had that, you know, that perfect acoustics and everything else. So those shows I really enjoy.
Yeah, Lincoln Theater in Raleigh. I've played there as a hired gun. It wasn't Ross Flora, but it was a
Okay,
show. But I've seen so many bands down there driving down to Raleigh. So that's one of those kind of like hybrid theater rooms that are really nice that you're talking about. If you ever
sure.
check
Now,
that
what
out.
about the Ryman? Have you ever played there?
I haven't played there, but man, that's probably number one on that list. But
Yeah, I can imagine so. So hopefully that happens real soon. So now, you know, so during COVID, I mean, so yeah, so people understand you write your music, right?
mhm.
You know, this is your craft. It's not just you don't just perform. This is, you know, you're an original songwriter. So did you do a lot of writing during that period as well?
That was the blessing in that. A lot was the fact that I was, up until the shutdown, I was working. I was doing the second most amount of shows in town. I was buddies with the guy that was doing this guy that was doing doing like 20 more shows a year than I was, but I was doing 15 shows a week, and it was just, you know, I was just in that headspace of, you know, like tearing it up, getting down there. That was my focus, you know, and all that. I wasn't riding. I didn't have time to ride. It was all I was doing was just going downtown and playing music nonstop, you know, at least once a day. And and, you know, and I was, you know, my dad had been talking to me, and I had other folks that were like, man, when are you going to release some stuff? They're like, we've heard your originals, you play them. You got a couple that you'll play out live, and they always sound good. And why won't you, you know, and then those talks slowly start getting there. Like, man, you're only getting older. You got to, what's your legacy going to be, you know? And, you know, so it was just kind of, so that was a big part of it, was it allowed me to slow down, like start riding my bike again, like, you know, and just actually get back to that soulful, you know, thing where I could express it and write some, decent songs that meant something, and you know, so to actually have the time and the peace to do that was kind of a gift. So
yeah, that's cool. So you took full advantage of it, and I'm glad to hear that. So now, am I to understand you were an English major?
yeah, I did.
Okay, so you liked like Thoreau and Dickinson and people like that. You found inspiration, and so you really tried to apply that, that the inspiration, their prose, their styles to, your writing and your craft when it comes to music.
Yeah, I kind of mix it with like my inner redneck, you know, but yeah, you know, I mean, yeah, they had such a cool way of expressing themselves, and I just love, like, again, it's a lot like being on a bike. You know, you read some of their poetry and some of their stories and stuff. I mean, that naturalist kind of scene, you know, we're back in the day in America, it was, you know, I mean, that's what I think when I'm riding my bike, you know, when you're in it, and when you read their stuff, you can almost like feel it, you know. It's like the difference between, you know, like, what's that saying? Like, in a car, you know, you're in the cage and all that. Like, you're looking at through a screen, through a windshield, through a screen. You're looking at the world. But then when you're on a bike, you're actually like in the swimming pool of the, you know, like you're in the world. You feel it, you smell it,
Exactly. Your senses are all there. You smell it, you hear it better. The wind's in your face, all those things, and that's interesting because, we're talking people, when you talk women and people like that, that, they're reading their stuff, can be very compelling. And I never really thought of how, their poetry, their writings could equate to that, writing experience. I think that's really cool. So thank you for that.
Oh yeah. It'll be an interesting outlook there then.
Absolutely. So what's the chances? Well, you know what, before we do that, now you've got a song that's out right now called Cannonball, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I listened to this, and I really, really, really love the style of your voice. I love the delivery, everything else. I think it's it's this beautiful raspy soulness to it and stuff like that. I think when I hear a voice, I want a voice that, makes me feel the words. I don't want to be yelled at. I don't want to be whatever. I want it to put me into the mode and what that person in the song is trying to convey to me. And I think you do that well. So you mind if we just kind of cue up a little bit of this real quick for everybody?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So let's see if Cody.
Lights in the mirror, 120 on the dash. 12 riding shotgun back to the back for no dash. No time now to reconcile, life comes at your fast. 2 more miles and 1 more turn before I lose them at the back. And I've been down this road before, take my curtain call. And I lay my hand like Penny Man, afraid to lose it all. Better get your house in order, right country for the fall. You can try to stand your ground, but I'm coming off of this mountain like a cannonball. Just like a bird flies out, knowing winter's coming soon. I keep my wheels a-rolling, cause they ain't my time to move. Trying to live a life, still was right, but I got no silver spoon. So I won't stop my running till they put me in the tune. And I've been down this road before, ain't my curtain call. And I lay my hand like Penny Man, afraid to lose it all. Better get your house in order, find something for the fall. You try to stand your ground, but I'm coming off of this mountain like a cannonball. looking for ain't my curtain call. And I play my hand like any man that's afraid to lose it all. Better get your house in order, grab comes before the call. You can try to stand your ground. I'm a cannonball. I'm a cannonball.
Well, way to hold the note there, right?
Oh man.
So now, when you're playing, I mean, so your songs, obviously you wrote them; they're personal to you. When you play, do you play, looking at that audience and thinking about the audience, or are you playing and are you going off to that place that song took you the first time?
For me, yeah, if they're my own songs, then yeah, I'm thinking about my delivery of it and where I'm, where I was when I wrote it, and just trying to channel that soul as much as possible to give it to the crowd, and all that. So I feel like that's kind of the, but if I'm doing, some cover songs and stuff, then I'm trying to,
It's a little bit different.
yeah, I'm like, these aren't mine to really, I'm still putting my spin on them, but so yeah, I try to just maximize and go into that zone, where I was when I was writing it. And
Now, where was that video shot at?
like I say, that video in Franklin County, Virginia, right, coming from Vinton to Burnt Chimney. There's a mountain pass called Windy Gap. And
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where I was about my crazy neighbors that had no fear with anything with a motor in it. I mean, they were just naturally just gifted. They race, amateur. They're on a pro-am circuit right now with all kinds of stuff from drag Harleys to flat tracking to, they've got some late models and, they're all over the place. So I was kind of had them in mind when I was like, okay, I could see those guys tearing down this mountain with, with cops behind them, but pretty confident that they're not going to get caught. So.
Well, we got to get that. We got to get that song into the hands of Jason Sims. He runs the Cannonball, so he'd probably love that. So maybe you become his official theme song or something.
Hey, yeah,
that'd be pretty slick. So, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at your board and you're working your pedals and stuff like that. Any issues? You ever run into any major issues with equipment? My son plays and he plays out live and stuff. He's running into some things.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be the first to say I got an overkill board, but I mean, I do 11 shows a week right now. So I just kind of use it to not get bored, like on some gigs when there's nobody, it happens to everybody, but there's going to be gigs where there's nobody there. And end of the night, and it's like, well, I played this song. This is the 2000th time I played this song. What if I had a little flange on there, just to, so that's mainly what I use it for. But yeah, stuff is constantly breaking, no matter how good a gear you're getting, and I've had boards that are professionally set up where every little cable is tied up nicely, and for like for big gigs and stuff. And I've had little tiny boards where just a DI basically for an acoustic, and that's all you really need. But
yeah, I had no idea until my son and just how much you guys put into your boards, setting up your boards and all the, and it's like, are you for real? And the money that gets tied up in them things is nuts. So it happens real fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
Now, I love,
even more.
I'm sorry.
Then the studio game, which is kind of what I started getting into a little bit more during the shutdown. That's like, I feel like I've been training as a guitar player, as a gearhead for the studio world now. So because that's the deep end of the pool there. Talking about gear that's expensive and just, and you got to have more and more, and every piece justifies the next. And so
that's very cool. The one thing, for people, explain to people that haven't been to Nashville. And if you haven't been to Nashville, I mean, it's an absolute must. Okay. I'm going to say a little bit about, but I love Nashville, especially this time of year when it's warm out. They open up the glass, the doors, they put the bands in the front. You can walk down the street and it's a magical place to go.
Mhm.
So tell folks about that and just, give them a little bit more background on that.
Yeah, it's the only place on earth that's even remotely near what this experience is, especially downtown. I mean, that's what you're talking about, and that's where I work at most of the time. And like I say, yeah, you're walking downtown, you hear it's just a constant flood of music, but 99% of it's really good. So it's like, it's not like, I don't know, it's not annoying, but it's just like it's constantly just flooding your ears. I still love when I'm driving downtown to go to a gig. Anytime I'm on Broadway, I roll my windows down just to hear like all of it coming in from all sides and all that music, and and seeing my friends play. Oh, there's there's Corbin there. In the windows on drummers just killing it, and singers just pouring their souls out left and right, and guitar players you can't even, nowhere in the world can compete with the guitar players in this town. So if you're at all into that, then you'll get your fill pretty quick out here. And yeah, I mean, it's,
Well, and I think people too, they get a little pigeonholed. They think the only kind of music you're gonna hear in Nashville is country music. That's not true at all, is it?
not at all. There's a big rock scene. I mean, there's a jazz scene. Obviously the R&B, and I mean, country is the dominant one, of course, but there's even a rap scene that's pretty crazy. There's guys like Jelly Roll and stuff that are coming here and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think, and now the other thing is Nashville's got so much good restaurants as well. I mean, there's no shortage. I mean, you can go listen to great music, eat good food, a lot of good people. I've never really seen Nashville doesn't get too crazy. I mean, it's not like you go to New Orleans, it gets a little dicey and crazy. You go to New York City, you go to Chicago, different places, it can be a little bit crazy. But for whatever reason, Nashville always just seems to be, people are having fun, but it's a little bit more laid back. It's not like going to Vegas.
Yeah. And it's certainly not as expensive as going to Vegas. That's for sure.
No, not at all. So now you've got an EP coming out, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about that.
So it's coming out July 15th, and it's titled Shoulders of Giants. And it's it's just a culmination of some songs I wrote a while back, a couple years ago, specifically one called Badlands. And then the other songs are mainly about the place that I'm at now, the good and bad that comes with this kind of gypsy lifestyle, I guess. And
Sure.
And like I say, Shoulders of Giants, that alludes to there's a track on the album called Shoulders of Giants, and that really pays homage to the old timers that aren't with us anymore, that really shaped my life, like my grandfather Melvin Flora, my good friend's grandfather Bill Walker Sr., my neighbor Ron Lehman, and Larnell Starkey. So those kind of folks are the main people I was thinking about whenever I wrote that song. And then it was pretty obvious that.
Well, I think you need to play that for us. What's the chances we can get you to play that song for us?
Oh, we back?
Yep. All right. So I think we cut all that. So what's the chances we can get you to play that song for us?
Okay. Yeah. I'm for you here. Guitar. I figured you might have me playing something. I was like, I should have a guitar in here. I'm building my studio right now. I'm in the middle of a move, so all my studio stuff is still in boxes. Next time you'll see me with a wall of guitars behind me.
So that means you're going to come back on when you're rich and famous and everybody's screaming for you to perform for them?
Well, I hope so.
We're gonna hold you to that.
Hey, please do, for real. And even if I don't, man, if I don't do the rich and famous part, you know.
Well, if you don't, we're just gonna talk shit about you then.
Yeah, hey, man. Yeah. All right, so yeah, it's Shoulders of Giants.
Okay.
Some days the work is easy, the road it feels like home. Sometimes the path is clearly the direction that I'm going. Those days it seem to happen too few and far between. Most times the weight is heavy and the hang inside unseen. Here I stand on the shoulders of giants, blue collar, self-reliant, the dark horse defiant, just a man trying to fill the boots and tighten the birds that go in the silence, dumb and not forgotten. Right words can paint a picture, some notes become a song. The right moments can shape a lifetime, yeah, some people make you strong. I've seen my share of heroes move mountains in their way, and watched them overcome, yeah, when they could lay in wait. But here I stand on the shoulders of giants, blue collar, self-reliant, dark horse defiant, just a man trying to fill the boots and tightens the words that go in the silence, dumb and not forgotten. No, it ain't a question on what you take, it measures how you live. They're the only thing that matters, is how much can you give. Here I stand on the shoulders of giants, come and not forgotten. Here I stand on the shoulders of giants, blue collar, self-reliant, dark horse defiant, just a man trying to fill the boots and tightens the words that go in the silence, dumb and not forgotten. Here I stand, the shoulders of giants, yeah.
You know, that's very, very cool. And I'm really looking forward to hearing the EP. And I think that song's unique because the fact is you want people to identify with your song, but more than anything, what really makes the song special is when it's owned, when somebody owns a piece of their heart. Because I listen to that and I think about the individuals that, they were the giants in my life.
Yeah.
You refer to the giants of your life, and I just think that's phenomenal. So great song, beautiful song. Thank you so much for playing that.
Thank you, Mario.
So We do a thing in each show when we go to wrap up our show. We ask 3 questions of every one of our guests. Same 3 questions. All right. So we're not gonna hit you with anything, crazy or weird that nobody else has to deal with. But it's all motorcycle related, so it's cool. So first question, I think this question coming on the heels of that song is kind of very befitting. If you can go ride with anybody, go ride motorcycles with anybody, past or present, who would you like to go ride with?
Greg Allman, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good pick.
I don't even know if he rode, but I'm sure he did at some point in his
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I'm almost positive. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
So, okay. And then the other thing is, if you could own any bike, to ride, what bike would you like to own?
Probably, I'd love to have one of Indian Larry's pieces, just that would just any one of them, and just one with one of those springers on the front end and just, straight up with peanut tank and, just true Indian Larry style and try to stand up.
Well, you'll have to keep your eyes peeled because we're going to be doing something with an Indian Larry frame and front end and everything. We're doing a build and tank with somebody, so it's going to be a pretty cool thing. I'll tell you about it when we wrap this up, because that announcement will come up later and stuff. And then if you could go ride anywhere in the world, where would you like to go ride?
I've never really thought about internationally, but I've always I want to go out west any chance I can. I try to get out west, and just New Mexico area right there and get lost in that desert as best I can.
Yeah.
But
the one place I want to ride Albuquerque up to Santa Fe, and I've never done it. I think that'd be a cool.
My favorite little stretch right there in Monument Valley, up a little bit more through there. So that's exactly. So
that's a very cool ride. So now, if people want to, let's refresh people's memories. If they want to come out and see you in Nashville, where do they track down, your dates, where you're playing, where you're going to be?
Well, you can go to ross-flora.com, and that has my weekly schedule. So if anything pops up, if you're getting to town, you need to know, if I'm playing that night. But my steady gigs, regular gigs, are Thursday nights at Cerveza Jack's, 7 to 11. It's Friday and Saturday night at Cerveza Jack's from 6 to 9. Got some day shifts. So like Friday, I just added these. So Friday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Tequila Cowboy. And then Saturday, 2 to 6 at Casa Rosa. Like I say, just add those two. And then Sundays, 2 to 6 at Luke Bryan's bar.
Okay.
Mondays, 2 to 6 at Luke's. And then, Sunday nights, 6 to 10 at MJ's Chill Spot, which is a cool little dive that's ran by my friends. And then Monday night is just, So
in other words, if you're in Nashville on any given day, you can go see Ross Flora. So there's no problems there.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And then if anybody wanted to, sees this and says, hey, I'd like to get Ross to come out and book a gig with him or bring him out. I mean, I've got some friends that run some rallies around the country and stuff like that. What's the best way to reach out to you there?
I think I've booked a lot of shows through Facebook, just through Messenger.
Okay.
Like I say, and then ross-flora.com has it's got a full booking page, a contact page, and all that. So I got
that's standard
team behind me, and and I try to stay on top of that stuff as much as I can, and like I say, and if I don't get to it, then the team is on it like a hawk. So that's
wonderful.
Yeah. So.
Well, sir, I really enjoyed this. I enjoy your music. I hope that we get word out of you as an artist. People discover you and embrace your music like I think they should. So thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Mario. Appreciate it, man.
You're welcome. Thanks.